it will be a series of lectures. It will be 5 lectures. So I'll ask you to have sabr. I'll ask you to have patience, because maybe what you're asking now will come as a complete lesson in the next lecture. So that's, and the title of the lecture is Islamic Schools of Thoughts, Madhabs. Islamic Schools of Thought, that is Madhabs, or Madhahib Islamiyya. Madhahib Islamiyya. Now, the question that prompted this topic is, as Muslims, are we obliged to follow a specific school of thought or not? Is it compulsory that I follow Hanafi school of thought, or can I follow Shafi school of thought, even if my parents are following Hanafi school of thought? I've been born in a Maliki school of thought. Can I change into Hanbali or not? Or can I follow Hanafi school of thought in this part and follow Maliki school in another part? Or should we just completely ignore all madhabs and be free of any other madhab and just be free people? We don't follow any madhab. That's the question that prompted this whole series of lectures. So in the first lecture today, we will have an introduction to understand these madhahib. It's just an introduction. In the second lecture, we will talk about the differences of opinion among the Sahaba. That will be the second lecture. We will have a third lecture on how these madhahib emerged. So we'll talk about Madrasat Ahlul Hadith, Madrasat Ahlul Ra'i, school of the people of Hadith, school of the people of the Ra'i, etc., etc. How did whole things happen? And in the fourth lecture, we will talk about some developments that took place later. So we call later developments, things like how these madhabs became to be canonized. How did it end up just having 4 madhabs? Were there more than 4? Why is it 4? Why not 5? Why not 6? Why is it that North Africa follow Maliki school of thought, whereby Indian subcontinent follow Hanafi? East Africa follow Shafi, Malay follow Shafi, and some Gulf, especially Saudi Arabia and some of the Sham, they follow Hanbali. Why is it like that? What happened? And then after that lecture, we will come to our main question. Should we follow madhab or not? We'll bring in arguments of the scholars saying we must follow specific madhab. And we'll bring arguments of the scholars who say we must never follow any madhab. We will measure the arguments and we will come with the answer. But that's after 5 lectures. Because then we will be clear in what we are saying. We'll be clear in what we are saying. Within this whole debate, we should be able to look at this idea. Why actually scholars differed? Why did they not take hadith that seemed to us very clear that this hadith is sahih? Why they didn't take it? So we will come to that, and we will put some time in our lectures a defense, proper defense for these scholars. Proper defense for these scholars, why they did what they did. And so that's the synopsis of what is going to happen in our series of lectures. There's 5 lectures, inshallah. Today we'll try to look in brief what happened. What happened? Why humans differ in opinion? Why do we differ in opinion? Is it a must that we must differ? Or can we live without any differences in opinion? Definitely we cannot live without any differences. Yeah? وَلَا يَزَالُونَ مُخْتَلِفِينَ. إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبُّكَ وَلِذَلِكَ خَلَقَهُ. I mean, we will continue to do it. That's the nature of the human being. Unless if we are robots, programmed to do specific job at a specific time, as human, with a free will the way we are now, we will never stay. I mean, we can agree on certain points, but it doesn't mean that we will not differ. We will differ. We will differ. Why we will differ? Because that's the nature of the human being. So it's the nature of the human being to differ. It's the nature of the human being to differ. But also, another thing that brings differences of opinion is what we call knowledge and exposure. Some people have more knowledge than the others. Some people are more exposed to the things than others. If you don't know the things, you imagine them. But someone else knows them. So the person who imagines things will have an opinion different from the opinion of someone who knows the things. So there is this idea of differences in the knowledge that we have and the experiences of life that we have. So someone who has experienced a life of snow and cold weather is completely different from a person and the way they look at life from a person who lives in the sand and dust and desert. They have never seen snow in their life. And this is two people completely different. And the way they look at things will be completely different. I mean, if you're trained as a surgeon, doctor who does surgery at the theater, in the hospital, the way you look at the things is completely different from someone who has been trained as an artist, literal critic. I mean, they're completely different. The way they think is completely different. I mean, as a scientist, you would have hypotheses, you'd have set of rules, you do the researches, you will collect the data, you will analyze the data, and then you will come to the conclusion, and you will give and take here and there, and that's it. An artist look at the things from the completely angle. I mean, they see beauty where there's no beauty. Do you understand? I mean, it's a completely different. They look at the wall and they look at here. They enjoy the things you don't enjoy. That's the completely different. That's how we have been, because differences in the way we've been trained and the way we've been brought up as people. Where we've been brought up as people. So why humans differ is because it's their nature. But also there is other reason, that's the reason of the knowledge. And we're talking of humanity in general. The knowledge that people have, the exposure they have, the culture, the environment, this all will make people differ from one another. But the main important question is, why would Muslims differ in the religious matters? These are religious matters. We know that they've been revealed in the Quran. We got the example of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but we have differences. Why do we have differences? I would say again, because we are human. Because we are human. The way we understand things is completely different. The way we understand things is completely different. I mean, at one point, Imam Malik was talking about Imam Malik was talking about the rule regarding washing the item that has been licked by the dog. So if you got your plate and the dog came and licked it or something, إذا ولغ الكلب في إناء أحدكم, and then Imam Malik said, I mean, scholars say, because there is a hadith that if a dog comes, licks something, you have to wash it 7 times, one including sand. إحداهن بالتراب. سبع مرات إحداهن بالتراب. This hadith is reported by Abu Huraira. Abu Huraira himself was only washing 3 times. Abu Huraira himself was only washing 3 times. And he was like, this is ta'abbudi, it's just a matter of washing. Okay? It doesn't mean it has to be 7. And that's the opinion of Abu Huraira. But the hadith that he reports to us says you have to wash it how many times? 7 times. Imam Malik, on commenting on this, he says, I mean, what's wrong with the dogs? Why do it have to be so why do we have to be so strict about the dogs? Why do we have to be like that? That's Imam Malik asking that question. Why do we have to be like that? I mean, ma balul kilab. I mean, what was wrong with the dogs? So anyway, that's why people who are against Maliki Madhab, they say that the Malikis have said that it's halal to eat dog because there is no verse in the Quran that says dog is haram. There's no verse, there's no hadith that says eating dog is haram, so it's halal to eat dog. But anyway, I mean, yeah. No, not Imam Malik. Some scholars in his madhab, and it's a very weak opinion anyway. So I mean, all scholars now. I mean, it was only one who said that, but then people take that and attribute that to Malik himself. No, I've done the research on that, so he didn't. Don't worry, he didn't say it's halal to eat. I mean, Imam Shafi says you can marry your own daughter if you have if it's a daughter outside the wedding. So if you had a relationship and then this woman had a baby, technically that baby is not yours. Technically that baby is not yours. So the question comes, can you marry that girl? Shafi says yes. Because it's not yours, then you can marry her. So people are saying, oh, see, so Malikis are saying dogs are halal, Shafis are saying you can marry your own daughter, and Hanafis are saying you can drink alcohol because of the, mas'alatun nabidh, the dates juice. If you put the dates in water and make some juice, okay, it can easily turn into alcohol, very easily. It's one of the items that quickly turns into alcohol. Now it's nabidh. Now nabidh, many scholars regard it, so if you had this, made it yesterday and leave it until today, it's already turned. I mean, so scholars take that nabidh as khamr and as haram. Abu Hanifa says, no, it's not haram, no. As long as it doesn't make you drunk, it's not haram. So, so anyway, so these are some extremes in the schools of thought. The point here is, we as Muslims differ in opinion based on the way we understand things. And we are free to understand things. I mean, Quran is ma'soom. Quran is ma'soom. Nobody can change Quran. But our understanding of the things is not ma'soom. It's not protected by Allah. So we as human can make mistake in our understanding, but we are free to understand, but not to come out with the very strange things, because religion has already been established and is very clear. It's not like you're starting afresh now. It's not like now you're starting something. Everything has already been understood. Now, having said this idea of differences of opinion, that even Muslims had differed. Even Muslims have differed. And I would say another reason for their differences is what we call racism. I mean, some Muslims have been racists. This is Qabaliyya, and this is Ansuriya. Tribal. Muslims have been very tribal. Muslims have been very, very racist. One group of Muslims looking at another group as low class, or looking at other group that they don't deserve. And I have to speak this very loud and clear, because it's a problem within the Ummah. It's a problem within the Ummah. For example, fatwa saying that a Qurashi woman cannot be married by non-Arab or non-Qurashi. Do you understand? So, المرأة القرشية لا يجوز أن يتزوجها غير القرشي. Do you understand? So a woman from the Quraysh tribe cannot be married except by the Qurashi person. That's the problem. I mean, you cannot justify that from Islamic point of view, because Prophet ﷺ authorized Bilal to marry sister of Abdurrahman ibn Auf. And Abdurrahman ibn Auf, who is more Qurashi than Abdurrahman ibn Auf? And we know Bilal was originally slave. He became free person, and he married a sister of the richest Sahabi in his time. But this happened. What I'm saying, this happened. I was reading in the Mawdu'at, one of the very fabricated hadith in which the Persians are looking themselves as better than Arabs. So they say, in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, astaghfirullah for recording this, naqlul kufr laysa bil kufr. I'm just recording to you what is kufr. I don't mean I believe anything in that. What they say in Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala, إذا فرح تكلم بالفارسية وإذا غضب تكلم بالعربية. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he is angry, if he is happy, he speaks in Persian. And if he is angry, he speaks in Arabic. I mean, just imagine, this is pure racism. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Prophet cannot say something like that. Prophet cannot say something like that. At one point, Sayyidina Abu Dharr, radiallahu anhu wa arda, said something to Bilal, Sayyidina Bilal. He said something to Bilal. And Bilal was upset. Bilal was upset. It was reference to Bilal's history, that Bilal was slave or something like that. And Bilal was so upset, he went and told Prophet ﷺ that Abu Dharr said this to me. And Prophet ﷺ said to Abu Dharr, إِنَّكَ امْرُؤٌ فِيكَ جَاهِلِيَّةٌ. You are a person who still has got jahili tendencies, pre-Islamic tendencies, ignorance tendencies that are not accepted in Islam. This is not accepted in Islam. And you got so many hadiths where Prophet ﷺ is against this, but still you can see Muslims are doing. That's one of the reasons of the differences in opinion. So this would lead later on, if you have a scholar who is not an Arab, Arabs becomes hard for them to accept that scholar. And if you have a scholar who is an Arab, I mean, people say, oh, that's Arabstan. Do you understand? And Arabs, they find it hard. They want scholars from their own tribe, from their own culture. We got that problem. That problem needs to stop as Muslims. Another thing that made Muslims differ is spread of Islam. Spread of Islam is a very good thing. It's a very, very good thing. But the problem, when we spread into other people, Muslims met with the other civilization. So the first Muslims, Sahabi in Mecca, in Medina, in the Arab, simple people. قولوا لا إله إلا الله تفلحوا. They say La ilaha illallah, they go out. And they succeed in everything they do. They were simple people. They were not questioning things. These were the first Sahabi. So when Allah says Ar-Rahmanu ala al-Arsh istawa, they will not ask Kayfa istawa. They will not ask. You understand? I mean, they would take things as they are told. This simple Bedouin type of life. But when you go and you conquer Persian, you conquer Furs, this civilization has been there thousands of years before you. When you conquer some Roman civilization, I mean, you conquer people, you conquer Christians, they've already been filled with the idea of Trinity and God is one, God is three, and all this thing going round in their heads. They will ask you questions. When they ask you questions, and these people studied philosophy, some of them, then you have to do something about it. I mean, if you've been asked a high-class question, then you have to be high-class kind of people to be able to. Then Muslims, what did they do? They started to study philosophy. And when they brought in philosophy into the Muslim Ummah, then everything started there, because people would say, if they say this, we say this. If they say this, we say that. If they say this, فَإِنْ قِيلَ قُلْنَا فَإِنْ قِيلَ قُلْنَا, up to the morning. The debate will continue until morning. That's because of these philosophies. I'll tell you, Abu al-Ma'ali, Imam al-Haramain, al-Juwayni, alayhi rahmatullah. Al-Juwayni, Imam al-Juwayni was working as a big scholar. He's a scholar, the teacher of Imam Ghazali. I mean, he's a big scholar. I mean, he was working in the township of Samarkand, the villages of Samarkand. And he's got big companion, I mean, so huge number of students behind him working, because every word he says, people put it down. He's a big scholar, massive scholar. He was Imam in Mecca, he was Imam in Medina. That's why they call him Imam al-Haramain. He was big teacher, big scholar, Imam Haramain al-Juwayn. Then one day when he was walking in Samarkand, there was this lady sitting in front of her house, and then when she was sitting there, people went, because you got to open the way, you cannot sit here because the Imam is crossing by. So don't you know Imam al-Juwayn? Said, who is that? The lady just asked, who is that? Said, no. Don't you know this Imam? Said, no. She said, no. And I don't care. They said, no. This Imam knows thousands proofs to prove the existence of Allah. He can give you 1,000 arguments, 1,000 proofs to prove to you that there is only one God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the lady said, Alhamdulillah, you need 1,000 doubts to create 1,000 proofs. I don't have a single doubt. I don't need a proof. Simple. I don't need any proof to the existence of Allah. Because, it's apparent. It's a philosophical word. We say, the existence of Allah is there. I don't need any proof. Because I don't have any doubt. The people who need proof, you create a proof because you have some doubt. You need to eliminate that doubt. That's why you create some proof for yourself to justify this. Because you got this doubt that you need to deal with. The lady said, I don't need any proof. And then they told this to Imam. And then Imam later on in his life said, I wish I could have faith like the faith of that lady in Samarkand, where I don't need any of these philosophies. And so what I'm saying here is the expansion of Islam into different lands, in distant lands, has made people start to learn philosophy, which in turn led them to differ in their opinions. So for example, the mas'alatul qadar, the question of qadar. Are we free to do whatever we are doing? Or are we pre-programmed? So whatever I'm doing is already been pre-programmed. Or am I free, completely free to do whatever I'm doing? How do you explain Quran in this regard? In one side, the Quran says we are free to do things. In another side, the Quran says, وَمَا تَشَاءُونَ إِلَّا أَن يَشَاءَ اللَّهُ. You cannot wish until Allah wishes for you. How do we explain these two things? So these issues of qadr made Muslims, it's one of the early questions in Islamic theology, in Islamic aqidah, is one of the early questions. So these made Muslims differ. And when they got differed, what happened is there was a group of people who completely say, we are completely free, and that's why we'll be punished for whatever we are doing. And there's another group of people that said, no, we cannot do anything. Whatever we are doing is the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. An extreme group in this group would say even Iblis didn't make any mistake. Because yes, he didn't obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made him to do sajda to Adam, but he had no choice because Allah did plan for him not to do sajda. So Iblis did not have any choice. So Iblis is right. Astaghfirullah. That's when you study philosophy, that's the problem. You get problems in your head that you need to sort them out. When these kind of questions come to you, say, A'udhu Billah, and forget them.
It's more sensitive than technology.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is, all these things, when they came to Muslims, Muslims started to find themselves in deep divisions. And also being the land distant. So the Sahaba themselves, because the Sahaba are the people who saw Prophet. They met Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They learned from him. Now, it's not like everybody knows everything from the Sahaba. Some would know this, some would know this. And some would have this approach, another one would have another approach. Some lived in Medina, some lived in Syria, some lived in Baghdad, Kufa, Iraq. Do you understand? Some went to Yemen. They went to everywhere in the world. Now you have these Sahaba differing. So when they got questions to answer, they would answer from whatever they know. Whereby another Sahaba in another town, same question may not answer the same. Because probably they didn't hear anything from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So this scattering of the Sahaba into different parts made Muslims differ in their opinion, because it depends on which Sahabi you had in your. So for example, in studying the Hanafi fiqh, it's been influenced highly with the fiqh of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. because Abdullah ibn Mas'ud moved to Iraq, stayed there until he died. When I speak of Iraq, I speak of modern Iraq, but either Kufa or Basra, and until he died there. So his students and their students are the one that taught Abu Hanifa. So you could see the link between Abu Hanifa and the fiqh of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. In Mecca, there was Abdullah ibn Abbas and his school of tafsir. In Medina, there was Abdullah ibn Umar and others, and I'm talking of the young Sahabis. I mean, and the people of Medina were proud that they live with the tradition. So whatever they do, because they saw it being done with them. That's why Imam Malik, later on, he speaks of A'mal Ahlul Medina as most important source of fiqh. The things that people of Medina did has to be taken into consideration, because these people have direct link to what? To Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So you could see I've just summarized the differences why Muslims would differ, even if they got one Quran, even if they got one Sunnah. But inshallah we'll go deep into that, because that's the main thing. I'm just giving you a flavor of these things, and their differences later on led to the differences of opinion in politics, differences of opinion in Aqidah, theology, and differences of opinion in fiqh or Sharia. The worst khilaf or differences of opinion are differences in politics, because that can let people kill each other. Those are the worst. Who should be the leader? You are the leader, I am the leader, we form our parties and we kill each other. That's the worst differences of opinion. Anything else can be tolerated. Anything else can, because it ends up by words. But the politics ends up by people holding arms. People holding arms. So that's just to tell you, inshallah, and that's the summary of what I wanted to say today. The differences of opinion during the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ, this we will start with it next week, inshallah. Unless if you want to ask me general issues on these things, I welcome any questions.
I had 4 questions.
Anyone who has got a question? We got time, huh?
Yes, 38.
38, yeah.
When they brought that fatwa that lady from Quraysh can't marry a non-Quraysh man, did they support it with any ayah or any hadith?
Kafa'a. The concept of kafa'a.
What is kafara?
No, kufr. In the Sharia, in terms of marriage issues, they speak of kufr. Kufr, it means you don't marry someone who is too high in class above you or too low in class from you, just to protect their rights. That's how they defend it. You protect, in order to protect their rights. Say, for example, a man going to marry from, say a man is just a laborer on the street, going to marry someone else who is a daughter of the king. Do you understand? I mean, they will look down on you. They will look down on you. So it's not advisable for you to go in that family. Find someone else of the same level of you. You will respect each other, and your family and life will be good, other than just going somewhere else. You understand that? Yeah. And so that's the reason they give. But the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ is we need, sorry? إذا جاءكم من ترضون دينه وخلقه فزوجوه. If you are happy with someone's religion and his behavior, then marry them. Allow them to marry. وإلا تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد كبير. Otherwise there will be big fitna in this world.
Now we can say kufr and
yeah. How do we compare? I mean, the scholars have written this subject a lot. In almost all books of fiqh, they talk of this kufr, and they say Qurashi is not kufu to non-Qurashi, for example, and Arab is not kufu to Ajam, something like this. They speak of this a lot. I've got a friend of mine, Allah yarhamu, Ustad Ali. We studied together in Medina, and when I came to this country, we came together to do masters in London. And he worked as Imam in Brighton while I was working here. And then he moved from Brighton, he went to Leicester. He died last year. He died last year. Just had some cancer just happened to him, and he died last year. Allah yarhamah. His master thesis, when he was doing master thesis, he looked at this specific mas'ala. He looked at this specific mas'ala of why is it said in the books that Arabs cannot be married by non-Arabs. But he had a personal history, so he had a personal history himself. There was an Arab girl in Tanzania from Yemen, and he was teaching the girl. And then when the girl grew up, Ustaz wanted to marry the girl, and the girl was ready to be married by Ustaz. But then the father said no. The father said no and moved the girl to Yemen, back to Yemen. And Ustaz, it affected Ustaz a lot. It affected Ustaz a lot. So when he was doing his masters, he was saying, most Muslim scholars are racist.
So he's insisting.
Yeah. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, I don't agree with that concept. I don't agree with that concept. But at least I do agree with the point. You have to look at your own welfare. You have to look at your own welfare. I mean, what I'm saying is, say for example, I live in UK. Someone comes here from Brazil and says, yeah, Imam, I want to marry your daughter. And then next day he's taking my daughter to Brazil. I'll be very hesitant. I've never been to Brazil. I don't know their culture. I don't know anything about them. Do you understand? So I have to look at the welfare of myself and my daughter. I have to do, and I will do that. And there is nothing haram in doing that. What is haram is someone you know, someone has proved their religion to be the main criteria in their life. So someone you think they will look after your daughter, etc., etc. You've tested them, you know them, for example. If they are not from your family, then you need to test them. If someone is from your family, then you easily know them. You know their father, you know their mother. It's easy to accept someone from your own really extended family than someone that you just saw them, because they may pretend to be like this, but rather they appear something like that. So you got to be, you understand, you got to be very careful on that. But anyway, إِذَا أَتَاكُمْ مَنْ تَرْضَوْنَ دِينَهُ وَخَلُقَهُ فَزَوِّجُوهُ. At the end of the day, if someone you're happy with their religion, you're happy with their behavior, then allow them to marry.
Why is it most Muslims, like parents, when you want to marry them, the first thing they ask is not about your religion, how much you earn, what degree you
I mean, yes, I mean, these are sort of, I would say, very materialistic Muslims. Very materialistic Muslims. They look at what you earn. Are you a doctor? I mean, especially around here, people are looking, are you a doctor?
The bigger the best.
To allow you to marry their daughter, they look, are you a doctor? Or something like that. So I was talking to one family and say, there is man who wants to marry in your family. I said, so yes. And we started to talk. They didn't ask me what is his job, but at the end of the day, I knew that they were asking, is he a doctor or something?
Like in Lebanon, if you want to go get married, you have to be a pilot and an engineer and a doctor, and you have to be a model, and you have to have a car and a palace, and
you know.
you have to have everything.
Yeah. Anyway, so second question.
Guys in Lebanon. Man.
Sorry, another question?
About still about the same topic. What they did with ayah in Surah Al-Hujurat, يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائل لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله أتقاكم. يعني آية محكمة مفصلة واضحة.
No, it's not about that subject. Don't push the ayah into that subject. Ayah says Allah has created you into different tribes and nations so that you may know each other.
Yeah.
Okay? It doesn't say you have to intermarry.
But what before إن خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى?
Yeah, we created you from one man and one woman. It doesn't speak about the marriage directly. If you're discussing a legal issue, we're discussing a legal issue here. Am I allowed to choose someone to have some precondition for someone who marries my daughter? Yes, I am allowed.
But not based on race.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say based on race. I wouldn't say based on race. But say, for example, I mean, I give you our personal example. In our family, my sister You know, my dad was Imam in the mosque and Sheikh. So he just looks at people, they come to the mosque, these are the people, these are his family. Okay? You're not coming to the mosque, he doesn't care of you. So this person was brought to marry my sister, my oldest sister. And it was from different tribe from us. From different, completely different. But my dad said, okay, he's a Muslim boy, he prays, etc. But then we came to realize that their tribe is completely involved in black magic, involved in everything, and it was so horrible. My sister underwent so much difficulty, and my dad had to fight and fight and fight until to get my sister out from that kind of